doing? What are we talking about?
We are talking about...
Are you taking advantage of? Okay.
Hey
au pairs, I'm Edwina.
I'm Hannah. Please, if you've been watching us for a while, subscribe and like to our videos. We really appreciate it. A lot.
Today we are talking about the question of, are you being taken advantage of? There are a few key topics where you can know certain laws, for example, exist, that you can kind of tell where you're being taken advantage of and if you're not.
Ultimately as well, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, then you might just be being taken advantage of, because I feel like our lines were pretty far, and when they were crossed it was like, oh, what? Number one.
Hours. How many hours do you work? The law in France says that you should be working 30 to 35 hours a week. This varies greatly depending on if your kid goes to school or not. I would also say that does not count in the summer. No rules apply in the summer, and it doesn't count during holidays. However, if you are an au pair with an agency au pairs are a lot more strict about this because they have to go through a very formalized process and sign off that they know the rules, they can't overwork you 35 hours a week, and if they are working you more than that, they have to pay you overtime. If you're a non-agency au pair like we were, you just kind of have to deal with it. Speak up if you're really tired, but every 6 weeks in France, you get 2 weeks off, and a lot of families will work you in that you'll do overtime for one of those weeks, and then for the other week you'll have off, so it balances out.
Yeah.
If you're working both of those weeks and not getting paid for them, it's either hopefully something you've agreed on, or, you know, that's kind of a sign. I wouldn't want to work and have no vacation. Also, in terms of being overworked, you should have 1 day off a week, regardless of whether you're working over the summer or over vacation. You always need to have at least 1 day, if not 2 days off a week, every 6 days. So if you're not getting that, ask for it, because my host family, my first one, they were like, you can ask, because I started in the summer, and they were like, you can ask for a day off whenever you want, but I wanted to impress them, I wanted to save face, so I didn't ever ask for a day off, so I got one like every 10 to 15 days, which meant I worked 24/7 pretty much one entire summer watching these kids.
Check out Doing This Horror Story with the link below. I would also say that how much you're getting paid is an indication of whether you're being taken advantage of. For example, Au Pair World state that it's between 260 and 350 a month, right? But we would say don't go below 80 euros a week. And so if you're being paid 50, you're being taken advantage of, because you can't afford to live in Paris on 50 euros a week. It's too little money. Hopefully you'll be able to catch this one out early on by speaking to your host family and having Skype calls and negotiating how much money, but definitely remember, don't do less than, I'd say less than 70, because you can cope on 70, but 80 is kind of the ideal and the standard for most au pairs.
And if your family should be paying you every week, if they don't do it every week, they should pay you every month. But you shouldn't go more than a month without being paid, unless you've agreed on it, because you're paying them back for something, for example.
Make sure to ask them as well. If they forget, it's not awkward. Don't see it as something that's awkward. You deserve your money. You worked for those hours. Yeah, you need some way in which you can live. The problem with au pairing is that you can feel very integrated into the family and like you shouldn't be earning this money, but your host family has chosen to pay you and knows they should be paying you, so ask as soon as the day comes. The day after my payday for my money, if they hadn't paid me, I would ask, because then it kind of gets over with quickly and they might have just slipped their mind. Another way in which I was regularly taken advantage of, or maybe not regularly, but a few too many times for my liking now, was I would be invited over to my host kids' friends' houses, and I'd get there and the host parents would go out. So it would suddenly become very transparent that I would be staying to look after the host kids, all of them, like maybe sometimes up to 6. And this happened with the neighbours quite regularly, and I was planning on, and never got around to doing it because it was just too awkward in my mind, whereas it shouldn't have been awkward at all, on going and asking for the money for those hours and being like, I'm paid by the other neighbours 15 euros an hour. I was there for 4 hours. I would like to be paid. Because although I wasn't doing very much, it was still a very irritating situation to be in that the other kids' parents think that they can take advantage of you. It also happened a couple of times where I'd been invited over and I thought I would be having coffee with my host kid's friend's mum, who I got on well with, and even she did this. So that situation wound me up regularly, you're definitely being taken advantage of, and I would say don't stand for it, because you may be an au pair, but you're not the village au pair. Oh, hate it.
That reminds me that babysitting is also a thing. So I think au pairs contractually commit to 1 or 2 nights of babysitting a week. If you're babysitting way more than that, that could be a red flag that you're being taken advantage of, because your parents are going out on date night every night, or they're coming home late from work every night, or they're going out for weekend trips almost every weekend or a lot of weekends. That's working time for you, and babysitting especially comes to mind because you could be babysitting for an actual hourly wage with another family, which runs in Paris. I've been paid 15 to 18 euros an hour for babysitting versus au pairing where you just do it for free.
Yeah.
So if your family asks you to babysit more than 1 or 2 nights a week, that's taking away from your social life and ruining the work-life balance, and really, I would say, putting a damper on your au pair experience.
Agreed. Another one. If you are an au pair and your host family ask you to look after their kids 24/7 for a week while they go away on holiday, you are being taken advantage of. Unless they intend on paying you or reimbursing you with time, giving you a couple weeks off, looking after host kids.
Giving you a lot more money and paying you a decent living salary.
And or if they give you a month off.
Yeah.
24/7.
Something, but 24/7 while the family goes away to another country is not okay.
Okay at all. So if this situation arises, we recommend that you speak to them and tell them that you expect to be paid properly, and don't just fall into this awkward situation of doing it because they asked you, because host parents obviously will want that situation. Who doesn't want to go on a 7-day holiday without the kids? But we definitely recommend that you speak to them, you tell them that that's too many hours, you tell them that you're not their parent and sole provider. Exactly. That's not okay, in my book. I mean, many au pairs may feel really comfortable with doing that. And I did occasionally have a whole weekend with my host kid, which was
same, but weekend versus week, different.
Yeah, but that also, my host parents would be very good in reimbursing me with my time and letting me have a few days off after the weekend. So definitely speak to them about that. And
the last sign that you might be being taken advantage of is in terms of money again, but for me, it's a personal thing. I always felt like I was being taken advantage of if I wasn't being compensated for certain purchases that I was making on behalf of my kids. I sometimes would pay for metro tickets or for a goûter snack here and there, and that would add up for me, and my host parents sometimes would forget to compensate me back for those small purchases that I made, and that would really make me resent them because it was eating out of my salary and I was losing out. So just make sure that your parents are mindful of that and they are paying you back for that kind of stuff.
A good way to do this is to keep the receipts. So you're not just asking for the money. Maybe you just put the receipts on the side with a note if you don't cross paths with them or if the kids are around. Maybe put it on their desk and let them know I left the receipts on your desk. And with a note just saying, this is what I spent in total, and then hopefully that will avoid the tension of having to just say, I think it was 10 euros, I think it was 5 euros, It's very much above board. You can get receipts from the metro ticket machine, and they're worth keeping. And
I think we should close this video by saying, if you feel connected to one of the things that we're saying and there's a red flag in your head going off and you might feel like you're being taken advantage of, just remember that it's not just one thing that means you're being taken advantage of, it's usually a combination of things. So if you have 1 or 2 things that are wrong and you feel like you're being taken advantage of in certain ways, have a conversation with your host family before you make any rash decisions. Because if you make a rash decision, your host family is going to react in an equally rash way, which could throw you onto the street and you could be homeless. Which is not what you want.
Worst case scenario, but yeah.
Which is what happened to me.
Again, link to a news horror story below.
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. But do stand up for yourself. Please like and subscribe. We really appreciate all the comments. And follow us on all of our social media.
Using the au pair handle, au Paris. And check out our website for new and exciting stuff that we're working on for y'all. That's all for now. Ciao.